Controversial topic. When will Bitcoin reach 100K? How easy is it to reach 100K? Will we get a big fat rejection right there because of, psychological barrier, or will we just blast through? Let's take a little look at that. So welcome to the Fomo Factory. Subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, like the video. It smack sound, but it didn't smack. Like the video. And check out the Patreon down below to get access to a lot of stuff, including private sales. And we got the best crypto gaming private sales coming up. So I'm super excited to share that. We already had two of the greatest projects, basically. So let's get into it, man. Now, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently at the moment of recording, not at the moment that you're watching, so price is different. Yeah, of course, it's not a live stream, but it's sitting at $70,000. And the Bitcoin dominance is sitting flat. So nothing too spectacular right there. Altcoins, they move with Bitcoin. That's nice. But the real fun for altcoins is about to start when Bitcoin probably reach over 100K. Why do I say that? Well, I say that because of this. If you look at the altcoin market in the last cycle, the altcoin market started to break its all-time high in February 2021. That's where the altcoin market made a new all-time high. But if we look at Bitcoin, February 2021, that's where Bitcoin was sitting at 40K. That's double already of the previous all-time high. Therefore, I would say we need at least to be over 100K for altcoins to really blow up. I know a lot of guys on this channel, they don't really care much about Bitcoin, but we all know that if Bitcoin is bullish, altcoins are bullish, right? So we need 100K plus Bitcoin for altcoins to really, go into an alt season, make us all rage, buy Lambos, drive against a tree and then die in peace. That's the dream. So 100K, well, Bitcoin is now sitting at that all-time high, like we did over here in November 2020. November 2020, the altcoin market was sitting here in this, little consolidation period sideways, not really close yet to the all-time high. It's kind of where we are right now as well, right? We're going a little sideways around the 618 on the Fibonacci tool, by the way, which is quite funny that if you take the Fibonacci tool over the last cycle, you see that that's around the same area. And altcoins still have around 50% or so to go up before we reach that all-time high. Just like in November 2020, we also had around slightly more, 80% to go, but it's kind of the same, right? So it looks quite similar. That makes me think hey, we need to see 100K plus Bitcoin to really see altcoins fly. That's at least my theory. I don't know. Let me know what your theory is. I could be completely wrong. But with Bitcoin around 70K, I don't think we're about to see an altcoin season yet. So we need to break this. Now, what does it take for us to break this? Well, what's at least helping, if you put a couple of narratives on it, is that we have BlackRock and a couple of other ETFs buying in, and there's a lot of inflows. There's way more inflows than outflows when it comes to Bitcoin. That definitely helps. Without the ETFs, we'd probably still be sitting at around 40, 50, I think, right? This is where the ETF got approved. Got a big sell the news event, and from that point the ETFs were like, okay, fuck y'all, phew, go up. And that's where the retail that's already in crypto felt like, oh, FOMO, buy, right? That's how it works. So the ETF definitely helps. Now, what's also helping, of course, is the halving, right? The halving is not just a hype narrative that people feel like, oh, the halving is coming up and we should buy right now. Although that's also definitely helping. Everybody's already talking about the halving, 20 days or whatever. And bullish, it's always bullish after that. And that's definitely true. If we look at the halvings, we had the halving right here. We went parabolic after. We had the halving here, 2016. We went parabolic after. We had the halving in 2020. We went parabolic after. Based on history, there is a pretty decent chance that after the halving, we go up. I'm not saying completely parabolic because diminishing returns, more liquidity, bigger market cap, harder to go up. But to say that it's going down after the halving, that doesn't make sense at all, right? So the halving is coming, and that does something to Bitcoin. Now, like I said, one, because of the price, or because of the price hype, right? People say like, hey, the halving is coming, you should buy. But two, also because it is just going up because of the halving. If you look at the production cost for Bitcoin, Eric Crown takes the credit for this, by the way. But if you look at the production cost for Bitcoin, that's really interesting. So the production cost is what it costs for miners to, mine a Bitcoin. At the moment, it costs 30K to mine a Bitcoin, right? And Bitcoin is 70K, so therefore mining is profitable, right? If Bitcoin would have fall down below 30K, mining is not profitable. So miners stop mining, so no new Bitcoin coming in. So there's only demand and no supply, so the price is going up again. That's basically how it works. But that's really interesting because you also see that the price of Bitcoin never, therefore, goes below the production cost, right? The price of Bitcoin, this green little thing right here, never goes below the red line. Maybe a little wick below it, but then the miners felt like, fuck this, and they stop, and then the price goes up again, right? The price never goes below it. What's, of course, interesting is we have the halving, and it will cost you twice as much to mine Bitcoin, right? Because twice as less Bitcoin is getting mined, so it will cost you twice as much. So that would indicate, right, that in a couple of weeks, it won't cost 30K to mine Bitcoin, but 60K to mine Bitcoin, implying Bitcoin will never fall below 60K. That's really bullish to the price, and therefore the halving is so extremely important to crypto. And that makes 100K a lot more doable, right? As it sounds a little weird, but 60K is the price floor, basically. So there's a lot of demand, but there's not a lot of selling going on, as miners feel like, yeah, it will cost me 60K if I'm mining Bitcoin. I'm not going to sell it for 58, right? So therefore, there's no selling pressure at that point, basically. So that's a positive about the halving, if you ask me. Now, therefore, can we see 100K Bitcoin pretty soon? Well, like I said, after Bitcoin broke its all-time highs in previous cycles, what's quite interesting, in the last cycle, it took some weeks, right? We were fighting it. But once we really broke and closed above it, we got a couple of green candles in a row before we saw the first red one. And there was a pump of 117%. In the cycle before that, once we broke the all-time high, we also got a couple of green candles in a row before we saw the first red one, which was a pump of 150%. If we look at the cycle before that, we also saw a lot of green candles. Like if you can count this wick, but still, then we got a 50% pump. But if we basically, it was flat. So if we count the real big green candles, it was a pump of 400%. Now, of course, that's diminishing because, like I said, more liquidity, higher market cap takes more to pump it. But still, we have seen at least 120% pumps after making a new all-time high. Let's say it's 100 this time, right? Let's be bearish. Let's say it's just like 70, okay? And that doesn't sound unrealistic at all, right? That could definitely be the case. And then you could see like, hey, it only needs a 40% pump to get to 100K, right? That's a lot less than what we have seen so far every single time. A lot less. Even if we, like I said, just do 70, it's 120K. Even 100%, which is still diminishing, is 140K. And if we do just as bad as the worst cycle so far, which was what, 120%? That's 150K. And that's not the top. That's just the first move, the first leg up before we get our first red candle. It's just a theory. It's not a prediction. It's a theory, okay? So far, this is what happened. But for everything has to be a first time. Maybe this time we just do a 15% and then dump 80. I don't know. Could happen. I don't expect it, but it could. So 100K, it lines up like at least 100K, let me put it like that, with capital at least lines up with what we have seen before. Okay. Then there are, of course, other indicators that we can use, such as the logarithmic regression band. And if we do take a look at the logarithmic regression band, this is how Bitcoin moves, right? So you can pretty clearly see that in a bear market, we are sitting in the green band, and not only in the bear market, also in the upwards market, but in the real, after having kind of parabolic bull market nuclear shit, we go up and we get into the red upper band. Here, 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 and here. Right? Now, at this particular moment, although we are sitting at an all-time high, we are still in the green area. We're still in the green area, right? And the total upside of the green area today, I mean, this chart is, of course, moving up as the band is going up. But if we would have go to the upper side of it today, that would say $76,000, give or take, right? That would still be in a zone that you can consider as in accumulation phase if you look at the last cycles. It was definitely not the best price to buy, but you would have still made a pretty good deal out of it. That's kind of what that green band is telling us. If we go to the red band again, and again, which we always do, if we do that today, that will be sitting at $170,000. And that's the lower area, like we did last cycle. If we go to the upper band, that's 250K. Right? Now we have history that we did both. In this first cycle, we went to the lower band. In this cycle, we went to the upper band. In this cycle, we went to the upper band. And in this cycle, we went to the lower band. So this is not even diminishing. This is kind of all over the place. So there's a pretty decent chance that we get to the upper band. There's also a chance that we don't even get to it. But again, based on all the history we have, we do. Right? And again, we can look at all these things and be like, yeah, now this is all invalid. This time it's going to be different, but charting exists for a reason. So that implies that even if it would happen today, which is actually not that realistic, as the 4-year cycle tends to top out end of 2025, can you imagine where that band is by then? I don't know exactly how it's moving, but if it's moving something like this, you could say like, okay, we go somewhere here, and then that band is sitting more at around 400K, right? That's a more realistic price point at around that period. For now, smashing through 100K seems pretty realistic, and it's a psychological barrier. It's a big psychological barrier because in the last market, everybody was like, well, we get to 100K and that's it. Yeah, if everybody expects it, it's not going to happen. That's how it works. But what I expect is that people expect that we get to 100K and get a rejection right there, so they will sell right before that point. What I expect also is that these people might get wrecked, as the market doesn't give a fuck and loves to wreck people. So the market just goes to 100K. Everybody thinks like, okay, now we're going to, cool off, and now we're going to go down. And then the market just goes up even further. That's also a possibility. Don't try to outsmart the market, because the market is going to wreck you. So that's not my playbook. My playbook is just half crypto, half cash, right? Not 50-50, but I have crypto and I have cash. And I'm prepared for everything. So I'm never all in the market, but I'm definitely never all out of the market in the bull market as well, of course, right? But what we can also take a look at is previous psychological barriers, right? Is it really a thing? Well, Bitcoin was trading here at $4 for a long time. What's the biggest psychological barrier? $10, right? So if we if we look at $10, was it a big point of resistance? No, not the $10 area. The bigger area was $12.50. So the psychological barrier here already didn't work. What's another big psychological barrier? $100. Where's $100? Which is here, right? What happened? In this week, we topped out at 100, and the next week we just blasted right through it, right? And we came down. And other than that, that $100 was a little support, a little resistance right here, but it wasn't a big battle actually. And you can round all these numbers up and look at 500, whatever. But let's take a look at the big numbers right here, right? So $1,000 was that a big area? Well, $1,000 here, no sweat. We just blasted right through it again, right? And the same goes for $10,000. We can go over all these numbers, but that was sitting over here, give or take. Nothing actually, right? It was 0.382, more like $9,500, and we got a lot of stuff going on right there. But the real rounded up numbers are like not important. You should look slightly over 100K or slightly under 100K. And you can base off of history, like, you know, $10,000, for example, right? That's here. What was the big area of resistance and support? It was more like 5% below it. So instead of looking at 100K, you could look at 95K. Like, okay, maybe we should get some trouble right there. Who knows, right? And therefore 100K was expected in the last bull market, because we were blasting through 40, 50, 60, going to 70, and it didn't make sense to stop at like $69,000, although it was a pretty epic number. But 100K, it's the price that everybody will talk about, but it's also the price that I think is least relevant. And I think most people will be shocked, including myself, at what kind of number it will actually end up. Like $285,000 or something like that, right? Like something fucking random, at least, right? So I don't think we're gonna have trouble with 100K. When are we gonna hit 100K? Yeah, that's the question. How long did it take Bitcoin to double from the last top, basically? So we had the top, and how long? That was 20K. And how long did it take for Bitcoin to reach 40K? Well, we were 40K sitting over here, so that took 166 weeks. Okay, 166 weeks. Remind it for me, please. Here, Bitcoin was sitting at, well, let's call it 1,177. Let's call it $1,200. So how long did it take for Bitcoin to go to $2,400? That was at this place, 183 weeks. So let's say that's based off of 2, right? But that's all I can remember with my Dutch brain at the moment. So let's say 170 weeks average. Okay, that might be an interesting thing to look at. So 70 weeks average. If we take it from the top, 170 weeks out, that will put us around beginning 2025, right? Now, a lot of people, they say like, well, this whole cycle is left translated and we're moving faster. We're not necessarily moving faster. We kind of, like, you can also say like this cycle we moved faster, right? We went to the bottom and we did a 4x way too early, and therefore we got this dump. Now, we even made a high way too early. So it could definitely be that this area is just a big fat rejection area at the end of the day. We go down and then consolidate for a while, and beginning 2025 and 2024, we really go up really hard. And that kind of lines up with what I've said before, because also if you look at when alt season, only based out of two earlier situations, but still, it's all we have. We had the halving, right? We had the halving right here. And 8 months later, we got an alt season, right? Okay. We had this halving, and 8 months later, we got an alt season. That alt season, of course, occurred when Bitcoin moved up twice from the previous all-time high. So that would line up with Bitcoin going towards 100K or more. If that's 8 months after the halving, and we take our current halving, and 8 months after that, that's end of 2024. I don't know. The cycle can do whatever it wants, and I can sit here with my lines and be like, this is gonna happen. I don't know. But a lot does line up with end of the year, beginning next year. I don't know. A lot of things, they come together every time I look at all different kind of charts. So when 100K, my expectation is later this year, beginning next year. A lot of people expect it to happen even still before the halving or close because it's all moved. It could also be that the market makes it look like we're going to do that and give us a very boring year, or we're getting a little wrecked maybe, and then just repeat the cycle like we usually do. Because you also should realize that if you look at Bitcoin on the monthly chart, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so far 7 green months in a row. Go to TradingView and look whenever the fuck we had that, right? Whenever we have so many months, at least 5 or 6 green months in a row, it's usually followed by not a red candle, but a period of cool off, right? Just like multiple months, half a year, cool off. Give us a healthy market, right? Don't expect the market to just keep on doing this. It's not up only. That's also, I know we have ETFs, doesn't matter. It's not up only. These people are also human beings. They want to sell. There are a lot of crypto OGs in the space that have bags. The ETFs are pumping it, and these people will take their profits. And once the snowball is rolling, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We do not need a big narrative for things to go down, right? It's just one big red candle because of a couple of whales selling maybe. Then you look at it and be like, fuck, sell, and everybody else does as well. Looking at the narratives why crypto cannot go down is completely nonsense, of course. But on the other hand, I get it because that's the euphoria that a bull market offers. In a bull market, you think that it could never go down. And in a bear market, you think that it could never go up. And so far, these people have always been proven wrong, okay? So don't be proven wrong because your money is in there, right? You're not just saying something, you're betting your money on it. So my speculation is end of the year, somewhere like that. Maybe Q3 could be a little off. Like, don't be like, oh, it's August, you asshole. You were wrong. Like, whatever. Somewhere more at the end than at the beginning of the year, let me put it like that. I think that's where Bitcoin really starts its, its parabolic move towards 100K and more. And that's what we're going to see in alt season. If I'm correct about that and the market is going down in the meantime, or is being very boring in the meantime, take it as an opportunity, okay? Because once Bitcoin gets to 100K and goes above, you don't have time to buy these altcoins, right? You look at an altcoin and be like, oh, I want to buy this. And once you have your funds ready, it's like already 3x up. It's like, fuck, now's the time to prepare, right? By then, you will hear all the retail coming in. Your grandmother steps out of her grave and comes into crypto, and your neighbors and your hairdresser, even if you don't have hair, whatever, they all come into crypto. Don't be one of them. Be here already, right? Let them pump your bags, dump on your grandma. It's like the golden crypto rule, basically. You want to have these people to be your exit liquidity, as hard as it may sound. But yeah, then again, crypto is player versus player. Be the winning player. And that's by having the knowledge, I want to say, having the experience before these other people do. So I want to leave it there. When do you think Bitcoin is going to hit 100K? And why do you think that? Let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the Patreon down below for exclusive sales, because also these newer altcoins, they will go up most if Bitcoin surpasses 100K. We all know that. So you might want to be there already. Take care.